Jake, 42, was a staff sergeant with the 82nd Airborne, having served 15 years and deployed multiple times to Iraq and Afghanistan. While stationed in Kandahar, he received a cold, three-sentence email from his wife, Rachel, ending their 13-year marriage. She had filed for divorce, drained their joint bank account, and moved her new boyfriend, Mark, into their home in Spokane, all without warning. Months before deployment, Jake had sensed something was off. Rachel became distant, stayed late at work, got a gym membership she rarely used, changed her phone passwords. Instead of confrontation, Jake quietly prepared, securing important documents in a storage unit, opening a separate bank account, and setting aside a small safety net. Back in Kandahar, Jake discovered Rachel had forged his signature to refinance their house, only in his name through a VA loan, and transferred large sums of money to a realtor named Daniel. That realtor had ties to Mark and was working to sell the house behind Jake's back. With help from his old army buddy turned lawyer and later the FBI, Jake exposed a real estate fraud ring that had targeted deployed military personnel. He used his home security cameras to catch them in the act, leading to the arrest of both Mark and Daniel. Rachel avoided jail time but had to return the stolen money, surrender any claim to Jake's pension, and admit to the forgery. Jake retired early from the army and bought a quiet cabin in Montana. He now lives a peaceful life with his dog, doing woodworking and helping others. One letter from a Navy wife thanked him for exposing the scam that almost took her home. That, Jake realized, was what truly mattered, turning betrayal into something that protected others. 6 months before his deployment, Jake started noticing small but troubling changes. Rachel stopped asking about his day. She'd come home late from the dental office, saying she was swamped with paperwork. She joined a gym but never looked like she worked out. New clothes showed up in her closet, and her phone suddenly had new passwords. Jake didn't accuse her, didn't snoop through her messages, that wasn't his style. But he wasn't naive either. His gut told him something was off. And after 15 years in the army, Jake had learned to trust his gut. Instead of confronting Rachel, he made quiet, deliberate moves. He rented a small storage unit on the other side of town and placed key items inside, their marriage license, his birth certificate, the deed to their house, which was under his name due to the VA loan, and documents related to his military benefits. He also placed sentimental items there, his grandfather's watch, and his mother's silver, things that couldn't be replaced. Jake also opened a separate bank account at a different bank. He diverted a small portion of his pay into it, not enough to be noticed, but enough to avoid starting from scratch if things fell apart. The night before deployment, Rachel hugged him at the airport. She said, "Stay safe, okay?" Her tone was distant, her eyes dry. It felt more like a goodbye to a coworker than a husband heading off to war. Jake felt something inside him sink. Part of him still hoped he was wrong. He wasn't. But what Rachel didn't know was that Jake had prepared. He didn't go looking for a fight, but if one came, he knew exactly how to finish it. 2 weeks after receiving the divorce email, Jake was sitting in the mess hall when his phone buzzed, a bank alert. Rachel had just withdrawn $88,500 from their joint account. He opened the app and stared at the numbers, $22.37 left. Their savings, $47,000 they'd built up over the years, was completely gone. That night, Jake called the bank from the base phone center. The representative confirmed what he feared. Rachel had been moving money in small amounts since the day after he deployed, increasing the transfers gradually. Jake didn't lose his temper. He just listened. Then hung up and stood in the hallway watching his fellow soldiers video calling their families, normal life going on while his was quietly falling apart. His bunkmate, Wilson, who had once saved his life in Kandahar, noticed something was off. "You good, man?" he asked. Jake didn't usually open up, but this time he did. "My wife drained our accounts. Sent divorce papers while I was out on patrol. Moved her new boyfriend into my house. Wilson didn't say sorry or offer sympathy. He just asked, "What's your plan?" That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He logged into their home security system, something Rachel had probably forgotten he could still access. What he saw hit him harder than any battlefield: a strange man walking his dog. Using his coffee mug, wearing his Seahawks sweatshirt. Rachel was laughing in the kitchen Jake had renovated with his own hands. Something inside him shifted. Not anger, something colder. Sharper. Jake picked up his phone and made a list. Call James. His army buddy turned lawyer. Review the VA loan documents. Look into emergency leave. Check the security of his pension accounts. It wasn't personal anymore. It was strategy now. 2 months later, Jake returned to the U.S. without telling Rachel. No calls, no texts. He checked into a motel under a different name in downtown Spokane and met with his friend James. Now an attorney. Over coffee at a diner, James handed Jake a folder full of documents, house records, bank statements. And one bombshell: refinance paperwork bearing a forged version of Jake's signature. She pulled $330,000 in equity out of your house, James said. Only way to do that is with your signature. But this? It's a fake. Middle initials wrong. Stroke pattern doesn't match. Jake already suspected as much. She forged it? Yep. And she listed her boyfriend as co-applicant. Mark Ryan. Mark had a criminal record, DUIs and a prior fraud conviction. Now it was starting to make sense. Jake went straight to the bank, met with the loan officer who approved the refinance. He showed his military ID, his real signature, and the forged documents. The officer looked pale. "I'll have to report this immediately." Jake nodded. "I've already filed a police report." That night, Rachel texted, "Who have you been talking to at the bank?" "Mark says someone's asking questions." Jake didn't reply. The next day, he filed paperwork with the county clerk to block any property transactions involving the house without his presence. A day later, Rachel called, left a voicemail, "We need to talk. If this is about the divorce, let's be adults." The same words she used in her email. Jake said nothing. Then came more news: Mark had been pulled over driving Jake's truck, which was still in Jake's name. The vehicle was impounded, and inside were stolen prescription pads from Rachel's dental office. This wasn't just betrayal. It was criminal. Jake's plan was just getting started. The next morning, Jake met with the bank's fraud investigator, a tired-looking man named Thompson. Jake laid everything out: military ID, forged documents. His deployment status. "We've frozen the funds from the refinance," Thompson said, "but there's a problem. About half is already gone, $14,600. Jake leaned forward. "Where did it go?" Thompson hesitated. "I'm not really supposed to share that." Jake cut in. "It's my house, my forged signature, my stolen money." After a moment, Thompson turned his monitor toward Jake. The transfers were all going to someone named Daniel Spencer. Jake didn't recognize the name. He called James right away. "Daniel Spencer?" "Give me an hour," James said. When he called back, the answer floored Jake. "Spencer's a real estate agent. Specializes in quick, undermarket cash sales. And he's done 3 previous deals with Mark Ryan." Jake sat on a bench in silence as it hit him. Rachel wasn't just leaving him, she was part of a setup. "She was planning to sell the house out from under me," Jake said quietly. "Looks like it," James replied. The payments to Spencer were probably deposits to start the listing process. And get this, Mark has a pattern. He's done this before. Gets involved with women whose military spouses are deployed, pressures them to sell, then flips the house to a buyer in Spencer's network. He takes a cut, then moves on. And Rachel? Could be a victim. Or she's in on it. We don't know yet. Jake's stomach turned. This wasn't just a divorce gone wrong. This was fraud. Targeted. Repeatable. James had already contacted the FBI. It crossed state lines. Involved forged federal documents and military families. They were very interested. Jake didn't want revenge. He wanted justice. And now he had a mission. That night, Jake sat in his motel room, staring at his phone. Another text from Rachel, "Nathan, please call me. The bank is saying something about fraud. Mark got arrested. I don't understand what's happening." Jake didn't reply. Instead, he texted back one question: "Who is Daniel Spencer?" She started typing, then stopped. Then typed again. Finally, she replied, "I don't know what you're talking about." Jake fired back, $14,600. Multiple transfers. House listing. 10 minutes of silence. Then, "It's not what you think." Jake turned off his phone. The next morning, James called. "FBI wants to meet. Your case fills in a lot of gaps for them. You might be the piece that breaks this open." At the FBI field office, Agents Patel and Donovan took Jake's full statement. They reviewed all the documents and evidence he and James had gathered. "This shows a clear pattern," Patel said. "It's not just a one-off. It's organized. That makes it a federal conspiracy." "What about Rachel?" Jake asked. "We're still determining her role," Donovan replied. "She may have been manipulated. Or she may have been complicit. That'll depend on the evidence, and your cooperation." Later that day, Rachel texted again, "Let's meet in person. Riverfront Park. Tomorrow." Jake showed the message to James. "Don't go," James warned. "She wants to talk now because she knows something's coming." Jake nodded. "I'm not going. But I want to see what she does when she thinks I'm not watching." The next morning, while Rachel waited at the park, Jake and James parked down the street from his house. At 9:45 a.m., a car with a real estate logo pulled up. Daniel Spencer. It was time to finish what Jake started.